I gotta give it to this dude. He lugs that plow up the mountain during the day, then burrows underground to sleep at night. Just bugs and water for sustenance. Yet he's unbelievably strong, like a mountain lion. Everyone thinks he's crazy, but he's training for revenge. His master is a martial arts legend, so he decided to pass down his ultimate techniques to this young boy. From the awesome Muay Thai of Thailand to the powerful Pencak Silat of Indonesia, all to become the #1 assassin climbing the challenger ranks. So, who is this kid? What made his shoulder muscles sore and his knees callous from training day and night? And how terrifying is his enemy? Find out in a 2024 revenge action blockbuster that even blind people will buy tickets to see, called Boy Kills World. In a certain city, there was a ruthless queen named Hilda. Everywhere she went, blood flowed, and she was considered the grim reaper of this place. Besides ruling the people as slaves every day, each year she also sacrificed 12 lives to perform a ritual. Those people were executed, and it was broadcast on live television to deter those who intended to rebel. Unfortunately, this year's list included the family of a young boy named Tony and his little sister Mina. Even though the family had always been honest and hardworking, they were sent by the evil Hilda to meet their maker. It was assumed all three would be buried together, but she was more vicious than a tigress. Because he was a boy, Tony had his ears burned with a hot iron rod. Then his tongue was cut out and thrown to the dogs to chew on, and only then was he hanged so he could be reincarnated into the next life. Just then, a mysterious master with long hair, looking like a beggar's disciple, appeared. With lightning speed, he sent the guards to the afterlife, then dragged the boy into the deep forest to treat him. The only keepsake that shaman managed to save for Tony was a photo of his mother. It turned out that this master was a top-notch expert with incredible martial arts skills. However, due to opposing the evil Queen Hilda, he was hunted down by her and had to hide in the deep forest. Realizing that Tony was a martial arts prodigy, so that the boy could avenge his mother and sister, Shaman decided to pass down all his supreme techniques. Although Tony couldn't be cured of his deafness and muteness, and was still at a young age, with a determination higher than a mountain, he began rigorous training with enthusiasm. First was physical fitness, to become as tough as a leech and as strong as a wild buffalo. Every morning his master made Tony fetch water from halfway up the mountain. Chopping wood was also a way to train arm muscles, and he had to push a plow to till the land every day. Although it was very hard, all of this turned a weak boy into someone as tough as nails. Once Tony's physical strength had reached its peak, his master began training him in real combat skills. For barehanded combat, he used the power of the incredible Muay Thai. For close combat with knives, the Pencak Silat style from Indonesia, from karate to taekwondo, or even street brawling, Tony learned them all. Sometimes, he would cry out from the extremely intense training set by his master. However, he was no longer afraid because no obstacle could stop his path to revenge. To train a martial arts master, Shaman was extremely strict. Tony's only joy was watching two dung beetles fight fiercely, but even that was forbidden because a warrior needs no friends, and there was not even delicious food to think about. His master ate roasted chicken with salt and chili, while Tony had to catch stink bugs for dinner. Besides that, Shaman wouldn't let Tony think about his family, because any kind of sentiment would make him weaker. Day by day, Tony's skills improved. Besides close-range combat, using guns for long-range attacks was also extremely necessary. To train his endurance, his master made Tony dig a hole and bury himself in the ground for 7,749 days, only breathing through a tube. If he was thirsty, he drank rainwater. If he was hungry, he ate some insects. Training by day, he forgot to eat. Training by night, he forgot to poop. From a snot-nosed kid who couldn't even wipe his butt, Tony finally became a strong young man, sporting a ripped six-pack that made all the ladies swoon. Finally, Tony successfully leveled up. Shaman's teachings were not in vain. From a weakling, after months of rigorous training, he had now become a master who could challenge the whole world. Even his master was just a thing of the past. Tony's strength could be said to be so great that even a reincarnated water buffalo would have to call him great-grandfather. In a friendly match with his agility, he quickly overwhelmed the old master. He should have won, but suddenly his little sister Mina from years ago appeared, distracting him. Shaman turned the tables and won. So Tony got an earful as a reprimand and was punished to meditate to avoid being disturbed by hallucinations. However, Mina still appeared, innocently eating potato chip snacks like an angel. In the following days, no matter where Tony went or what he did, his sister was always beside him, making his childhood memories flood back. Because years ago, the two siblings were never apart for even a moment, besides dreaming of going to a beautiful new world. They also often snuck out to play video games all night at the internet cafe. Not only did they know how to play games, but Tony and Mina also hated the evil Queen Hilda with a passion. So they often stood in front of her statue and raised their 5 fingers, meaning they weren't afraid. Back to the present, Tony brought cabbage into the city and accidentally bumped into a cute girl. He was thinking about what to name their future children when he found out that she was a hardcore fan of the evil queen. This immediately turned him off, ending his budding romance. Just then, soldiers of the evil Hilda stormed in. It turned out that to prepare for this year's execution, they would immediately arrest 12 innocent citizens to bring back for the sacrificial ceremony. Seeing a bald guy with lots of hair, Tony remembered that this was the butler who had come to his house years ago to take his family to the execution site. Besides him, there was also Brown Crow, the brother of the evil witch Hilda. He, as the Minister of Culture, came to give a speech to persuade the people not to follow the rebels who opposed the Queen. But it was a damn mess. The bald butler, who only finished 2nd grade, wrote a speech full of spelling mistakes, making Brown Crow want to put a bag over his head out of embarrassment. This earth belongs to mine. Green. Bananas cooked with soup powder. Anyone who rebels will be shot in the head. I'll start with this guy's family. How dare you supply weapons to the rebels? Despite the couple begging to spare their child, Brown Crow was determined to show no mercy to the young or the old. Seeing this, a girl jumped in, delivering a dramatic speech, calling him someone who hides behind his sister's skirt. Losing all face, Brown Crow fired his gun, but hit another citizen instead. This enraged the crowd, and they tried to rush in to bury this dog. Wanting to go all out with them, a young man grabbed a knife and charged, but before he could reach them, a female assassin with the nickname K03 swung her axe, taking his arm clean off to make porridge. Faced with the situation, they had to step in to quell the riot, massacring everyone present. Tony was about to rush to the rescue, but his master stopped him, saying they had to wait for the right moment. Having finished, Brown Crow ordered the 12 people to be taken to the execution site to prepare them as sacrificial offerings. As soon as they left, Tony ignored his master's warning and acted on his own, using his superior lightness skill to jump over rooftops and walls as easily as eating pie, but he messed up and crashed into a vegetable stand. So he ran for their lives because they didn't have money to pay for the damages. After that, Tony pretended to be a local to get close to them, planning to sneak into the trunk to be a hidden hero, but unexpectedly, there was a dead body. Well, he had to lie on top of it to follow them to the lair of these bastards. Arriving at a warehouse, Tony discovered that this was where the hag Hilda manufactured weapons for her army. Just then, his little sister Mina appeared again, and not only that, she initiated a conversation with Tony. It's just that when we were in the forest, there was that grumpy old man, so I had to be quiet. We will fight together because I am a tough cookie, you know. After saying that, she disguised herself as a ninja and rushed out to fight. Tony saw a vehicle carrying weapons approaching and hurried to rescue his sister, or else there would be a traffic accident, even though Mina wasn't real. Life was already bad, and to make matters worse, the brother of the hag Hilda, Brown Crow, came and asked, "Who's that plate-face guy?" Then he ordered his men to chase after Tony. Because he had never fought before, he had to calm down, then take advantage of the terrain and objects and attack unexpectedly, punching one guy square in the face. After that, he stuffed his sister into a locker to confidently take care of the bastards. Quick as a flash, Tony snatched a gun, but unfortunately, it was empty. After remembering his master's words, "You are the weapon," he rushed out, using his fists and feet to turn a guy's healthy bones into broken ones, making him scream. Then he turned back to grab the gun and throw it like a dart. A guy with glasses rushed in to hug him, but Tony snatched his knife, stabbed him once, and then gave him a bonus elbow strike. As fast as finding a toilet when you have diarrhea, Tony moved like flowing clouds in water, choking and then stomping on the face of the other guy. Seeing two guys firing continuously, he quickly used one as a shield. Just then, a mustached uncle threw Tony a sawed-off shotgun so he could counterattack, and then quickly rolled inside to hide. The mustached guy hurriedly explained, "I came here to steal guns and ammo for the resistance army against the old hag Hilda. Sharing a common enemy makes us friends." So he used the gun to break the old man's chains, freeing him. Then both of them started to take action. Tony took on the task of eliminating the guards, while Mustache had another task of pushing the weapon cart outside. With two knives in his hands, Tony charged in, slashing left and right, sending these guys to meet their maker. Suddenly, a guy with a grenade launcher rushed in. It turned out he was the guy with glasses from before who got stabbed, but somehow didn't die. This time, Tony snatched the gun and shot his leg clean off, then gave him 2 more shots in the chest. Climbing up to dodge bullets, Tony went through the back door into a room, then grabbed the guy's neck and snapped it. He stomped on the second guy to make sure and took the third guy's gun as smoothly as taking his girl out for a bathroom break. With a pistol in hand, Tony immediately swung down, shooting 2 young punks dead to protect the mustached uncle. The 2 were about to take the weapons and leave, but Tony almost got hit in the head with a hammer. It turned out that it was the 4-eyed guy from earlier who was blessed by the director, so he still hadn't kicked the bucket. Tony grabbed his hair and broke his teeth, knocking out his whole set in an extremely painful way. But he was tougher than a leech and no different than a zombie, still huffing glue and charging in like a madman. However, this time he fought pretty well, flying through the air and giving Tony a few painful hits. Blood rushing to his brain, he charged in but was met with knees and elbows, then thrown into the corner. Tony slammed the door on his hand, making him scream for his mom and dad. Yet, he broke his joints and escaped. Tony grabbed a knife and stabbed his leg, taking away his ability to attack. There wasn't a single enemy left standing. So Mustache was grinning like a dad who can give birth. He's so happy, but he almost got popped with a lead sweet. It turned out that it was Brown Crow, the brother of the Queen Hilda, but he was quickly shot in the leg by the mustache uncle. Tony rushed forward to beat him up and finish him off, but the uncle stopped him, saying they needed to extract information. Being a coward who feared death after being threatened, Brown Crow pissed his pants. He revealed that his sister was at the castle in the forest preparing for the annual sacrificial event. Then he cried, saying he wanted to join the resistance because he didn't want to do evil anymore. After explaining his situation, he thought he would be spared, but the mustached uncle was so moved that he dropped a 300-pound weight on his face, sending him to his final resting place in the hometown cemetery. After resolving everything and getting the information, Mustache took his nephew back to his hideout to meet the warriors of the mighty resistance army, saying that a quick count would be a few hundred people. But when they opened the door, surprise, there wasn't a soul inside. Going in, they found the place was empty. Suddenly, Tony was attacked, but Mustache stopped it in time. It turned out that it was Ben, a skilled marksman in the anti-Queen squad. Mustache asked, and he replied that everyone had been killed by Hilda's army. Hearts broken, tears streaming down their faces. The two could only hug each other, then sob uncontrollably. Witnessing this, when the men cried, Tony comforted them to ease their sorrow. Furious at Hilda's cruelty, the mustached uncle said, If we don't avenge this, we're not men. As long as we breathe, we fight. He is a weapon of mass destruction, so I brought him here. You can't imagine how terrifying this kid's power is." After saying that, the two uncles unfolded a map of the old hag Hilda's castle in the forest and made a plan. After that, Tony sat and listened to the two uncles scheming, and he learned that the right-hand woman of the evil Queen Hilda was her sister, named Melanie. Next was the assassin princess K03, who always wore a helmet. Besides that, there was also the bald butler. As for the brother, Brown Crow, his head was already smashed, so he didn't count. After identifying the targets to be killed, everyone armed themselves to the teeth and geared up to hit the road. Arriving at Queen Hilda's castle in the forest, the three easily took down some guards outside, then changed into their uniforms and disguised Tony as a cake delivery guy. His sister Mina also followed. However, before they could find where the evil queen was, Tony was distracted by the doorman cakes. He took a bite, and it was delicious because every day his old master only let him eat bugs. Oh boy! He greedily devoured the whole plate and forgot about the mission. Just then, the mustached uncle appeared in time to remind him that the hag Hilda was in the dining room, but they had to go through the back door of the kitchen to get in. Understanding the situation, Tony burst into the food preparation area, took off his disguise, and borrowed a pan to start the fight. Sure enough, these guys with knives and cutting boards weren't pushovers either. The manager hadn't finished speaking when he got hit with a pan. The rest rushed in, but Tony used a vegetable peeler to shred them, then beat them black and blue. After dealing with the big guys, Tony took a meat cleaver and snuck in, quietly taking some blood from a guard to make blood pudding. He swung the cleaver, cutting off the hag Hilda's head. And then he was happier than if his dad had won the lottery because he had completed his life's mission of revenge. However, life is full of irony, with little ginseng and many bamboo roots. Tony realized he had been tricked, and this was just a decoy. The bald butler held a gun and threatened, "You thought you were a chicken, but it turns out you're just a green bean. I foresaw this, so I outsmarted you and set a trap." Seeing the bald guy rambling, the old woman, who was the mother of Queen Hilda, said, "Just shoot him. Why are you still talking?" Taking the opportunity, Tony snatched a gun and held the butler hostage. However, right at this moment, the assassin princess K03 appeared, biting him from behind. She was Hilda's daughter, so she chased everyone out to take care of things herself because she hadn't had an opponent in a long time. Although she was a woman, her skills were top-notch. Tony was constantly beaten because he was underestimating her. K03 pulled out her axe, making Tony truly wary. She pushed him out the door with her back and grabbed a sword from the wall. Tony didn't hold back, but immediately attacked to get things going. After they exchanged sharp blows, K03 finally got her helmet knocked off. Her beauty even made Mina's appearance acknowledge that she was pretty. Taking advantage of that, K03 silenced Tony and pushed him down, making him fall with a thud and knocking him out cold. Waking up from the daze, Tony found himself tied up. The Princess K03 asked, "Quickly reveal Shaman's whereabouts. I've fought him before, so I know you were trained by him." However, no matter how he was threatened or tortured, Tony remained as silent as a clam. Even a crowbar couldn't pry a word out of him because he couldn't talk. K03 got so mad she left. The butler then said, "I don't like this mother and daughter either. The queen is afraid of your master's revenge, so she hides in the bunker. I'm the butler, but they treat me worse than a dog. So if you have a chance, kill that demon for me." After saying that, the bald guy slipped a small knife into Tony's pocket so he could escape and take action. Right then, K03 had the soldiers drag Tony to the execution ceremony. The two uncles also disguised themselves as drivers and followed. Every year was 12 lives, but this year it would be 13 because he had dared to assassinate the Queen Hilda. Above was a grand stage, and below were thousands of perverts watching the death scene live for their enjoyment. After some thunderous applause, the evil Queen Hilda appeared. However, she had pneumonia, so she was swollen up like 2 watermelons. A quick look showed that she was very ill. Besides that, Hilda was also afraid that shaman would appear for revenge, so she was mentally unstable. Seeing that, her sister Melanie quickly took her back to the shelter and then announced the start of the execution ceremony. On the stage, they released the 12 victims. Then, the masked assassins would slowly kill them in fear. The audience was extremely excited about this barbaric performance. None of the victims could escape from this place because the assassins, numerous as an army, had blocked the exits. Moreover, the golden hoop on the victims' necks could be activated at any time, giving them a brain-zapping shock. In this dire situation, Tony used a knife that the bald guy gave him to break free. They had also found him but were quickly taken out with a chop to the wings and a headbutt to the iron collar. Seeing that, the hag Melanie activated his collar, paralyzing him and making him unable to control his body. Then, the gang came to subdue Tony, so the leader could execute him with a hammer. However, unexpectedly, this goat attacked the royal soldiers, smashing them until they were unrecognizable. It turned out that it was the mustache guy who had disguised himself and infiltrated this place at some point. After taking off Tony's golden hoop, Uncle Ben also arrived. With his sharpshooting skills, he shot these guys in the butt. The execution party had never been so lively. Seeing the rich people enjoying the bloody show, the mustache uncle didn't hesitate to fire into the stands, making the bastards run like a disturbed beehive. Tony, getting equipped with a magical gauntlet, was overjoyed. He was like a tiger released from its cage, attacking the enemy. The three, as fast as a lover's betrayal, took out many of the ringleaders. The butler, observing from inside, was overjoyed. He said to Melanie, the sister of Queen Hilda, "You and your sister never listen to my advice, so you'll just end up eating dirt." Hearing that, Melanie pushed him against the wall and said, "People die by their mouths, idiot." The butler retorted, "Oh, I'm so scared." This made her so furious that she grabbed a Thompson submachine gun and sent the bald guy to meet his ancestors early. On the stage above, the three guys were still working together to take down the remaining enemies. Tony had to borrow a carrot to fight against the Caribbean pirate captain. He was just a small fry, so he was quickly sent to meet his maker. It seemed to be over, but suddenly Melanie brought out the heavy artillery and started firing. Uncle Ben jumped out to save Tony, but got shot in the back. Before drawing his last breath, he told Tony to get that hag for him. Furious, he charged forward to distract her, then hid behind a giant pineapple to use as a shield. Closing in, Tony rolls and takes this bitch down to the ground. Then, he tied her hands and placed her right in front of the camera to execute her, so all the people would know the fate of the dictator. Tony took the camera and smashed this hag's face, killing her instantly. Having dealt with everything, he and Mustache continued to search for the hag Hilda. She was hiding in the basement, so Tony had to fight many guards to get inside. With hatred in his heart, he was like a killing machine, taking down 300 guys right then and there. However, the mustache uncle also passed away because there were too many. Seeing the dying bald butler, he gave him a card and said, "Go into that secret room." He was about to do it, but Mina stopped him, saying, "He helped us, brother." However, Tony objected because he was the one who came to their house and took their family to the execution site, which made Mina heartbroken, and she left. After sending the bald guy to meet his maker, Tony immediately used 8 cards to open the elevator door and go down to the basement. However, as soon as the door opened, an army was waiting. K03 appeared and said, "The Queen wants to see you." They led him into a secret passage, where all the officials were sitting and watching like dogs watching a light turn off. Tony was shocked when he saw his family photo, but the mother didn't look like the one in his memory. It was Hilda. Suddenly, She hugged Tony tightly and said, "I finally found you." Besides that, Princess K03 was also his little sister Mina from back then. Suddenly, memories flooded back to him. It turned out that Tony was the prince, the son of the queen, the one who would inherit the throne and rule this place. One day, Hilda took the two siblings to an execution and said that messy-haired, stupid-looking guy killed your father. Take revenge. What are you waiting for? After saying that, she held her son's hand and shot 3 people dead, then let Tony deal with the old man. However, he fired the gun wildly because he didn't want to do it, which allowed Shaman to escape. Witnessing the carnage, Tony cried and ran into the forest in pain. Unfortunately, Shaman saw him and choked him unconscious, then kidnapped him into the deep forest. After that, he was the one who pierced his eardrums and cut out his tongue to make soup. Every time Tony remembered his mother, Shaman would apply the right-hand rule. Then he held up a picture of his wife and said this was his real mother. Not only that, he also used magic to make Tony confused, then fabricated a ridiculous story claiming that Hilda was the enemy who killed his family. The queen cried and said, "I tried but couldn't find you. That wretched sorcerer wanted revenge, so he turned you into a weapon to come back and kill our family. Luckily, your sister realized that." Tony looked at Mina and understood everything, but he didn't want to accept this truth. Because after all, the evil enemy he had been searching for all these years was his birth mother. Seeing her foolish son not reacting, Hilda felt that Tony would be a threat. So she got up angrily and said to Mina, "He is no longer your brother. Deal with him because he will be the sorcerer's weapon." Mina had no other choice but to obey her mother and move to execute Tony. However, when she was about to pull out her axe to finish him off, her brother raised 5 fingers. That was the way the two used to do in the past to oppose their mother's cruelty. Remembering the childhood memories with her brother and how they both wanted a new world without killing, Mina changed her mind, turned around and axed the mother in the head to end the dictatorship. After dodging bullets, the siblings took guns and worked together, killing the guards. Indeed, they were like a perfect duo, wiping out the enemy. Anyone who was charged was immediately given a few sweet bullets. It wasn't that the enemy's guns couldn't take down the two, but the director wouldn't allow it. One guy used a machine gun to create a rain of bullets. Then another guy used a 6-barrel Gatling gun to fight back. Tony and Mina laid down, waited for him to get close, then used him as a bullet shield, then approached and suddenly went to both sides to distract him, and then rushed up to snatch the gun. Tony angrily fired at this guy until he was blown to pieces. 10 more guys rushed out from inside. Luckily, the two ran into the elevator shaft to go up. Mina said, "I've been looking for you all these years but couldn't find you. I became an assassin because I wanted to avenge the rebels. They took you away." Mina was explaining when suddenly the elevator door opened. The two went out and saw Shaman standing there like a lump of shit. He ordered Tony to kill Mina, or he would die. Tony replied, "No. Way Wolf." Knowing that everything had been exposed, Shaman was about to end it, killing the two siblings, Tony and Mina, to avenge his wife and child. Mina charged in first to attack. Although she landed a few hits at first, she was no match for him and was quickly beaten and knocked down. He was about to break Mina's neck to finish her off when Tony arrived in time to kick him in the face. But that was nothing. Shaman stood up and signaled to come and get some scars. Continuing the fight, this time both Tony and Mina charged in. However, it seemed like the two couldn't even touch a single curly hair on him and were beaten badly. The older the ginger, the spicier it is. Shaman was too fast, hitting the two siblings without missing a beat, breaking their arms like snapping rice crackers to drink with Hanoi beer. Not giving the kids a chance to attack, this old man used his iron head technique, which was also extremely powerful. On the left, he hit Tony. On the right, he pushed Mina, but he didn't get tired at all. Even though his body was as small as a half-eaten popsicle, his fists were bigger than a cantaloupe. The more they fought, the more Tony and Mina got beaten. He jumped up, took a run up, and slammed Tony's head to the ground like a god strike, making him lose his fighting strength right then and there. Seeing that, Mina rushed in. Her cat-scratching martial arts moves were countered by Shaman. Then he beat her until she couldn't even spell her name. Grabbing a piece of glass from the helmet, Shaman stabbed Mina all over, then pushed her down, stabbing her in the shoulder. Tony woke up and rushed to the rescue. This time he used poison to treat poison. He used all the techniques Shaman taught him to fight back, and it was indeed effective, beating his master to a pulp. The old man threw a punch, but Tony absorbed all the force and snatched the tiger fawn necklace, wrapping it around his hand as a weapon. Tony charged in, using the ultimate techniques of Penchak Silat to deal with his master by cutting the tendons in his arms and legs. However, this guy was incredibly tough, still charging in and throwing horizontal elbow strikes. Tony used his long legs to pound rice, then used his strength to lift him and slam him headfirst into the concrete wall. Then he rushed in to finish him off using the tiger fawn, sending him to the afterlife. Finally, it was all over. Tony took his sister Mina out of this place and enjoyed a new world without violence. Through the movie, we can see that in this world, there are despicable people everywhere, like beasts in human form, always lurking to pounce on us at any time. Therefore, we need to train ourselves to be strong so that no one can bully us. Besides that, carefree childhood memories are always the most beautiful, used to enlighten each person's soul. Because life now is all about making ends meet and being hungry all the time, so there's no more joy. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and press the bell to watch other interesting videos. Goodbye and see you again